A man once told me about the longest drive back home from his work. Not because someone has died, not because he had even lost his job, not because his marriage was falling apart. In fact, his marriage was doing just fine. All of this started with a meeting that was not even supposed to last more than 15 minutes. He'd gone to see his accountant about refinancing his house, a house he had bought years before he even met his wife. The meeting was routine: numbers, paperwork, interest rates. Then the accountant stopped writing, looked up at him and said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he nodded, "Sure." Then the accountant said, "When you got married, did anyone explain to you what legally changes when you sign that marriage certificate?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" The accountant turned his computer to the guy and started explaining to him how marriage was not just an emotional commitment, it was also a legal and financial contract, how ownership could change, how future income could be treated, how obligations could be shared, how the law viewed marriage differently from the way many people imagine it. And my man just sat there quiet, listening, trying to make some calculations in his mind. Not because he regretted getting married. No, he loved his wife. He was just so shocked that he signed one of the biggest contracts in his life, if not the biggest contract in his life, without even realizing or trying to know what was inside, what it meant for him going forward. Later that evening, he sat alone inside his truck just outside of his house, not trying to escape his marriage, but trying to understand it. But he kept asking himself the same question: why didn't anyone tell me this before the wedding? He remembered the engagement party. He remembered the bachelor party, the wedding speeches, the dancing, the photographs, the congratulations. Everyone celebrated the wedding, but no one prepared him for the responsibilities, for the risk, or the realities that come with it. And that's the gap we are talking about today for men. Because whether you choose to get married or not, every man deserves to know what he's signing up for before he signs. The truth starts here. Before we really get into the serious matter, if part of that story made you to think, if it made you to ask questions, or if it made you to remember something, you are in the right place. We are building a community of men. Men who understand modern social dynamics and men who want to learn before they get burnt on dating, on relationships, on fitness, on building their bodies, on just being the best version of themselves. So if this is what interests you, welcome to the club. Smash that subscribe button. This channel is your new home and it's your community. Now, I'm not here to talk you out of marriage. I'm here to make you walk into it or stay into it with your eyes wide open, not finding things out the hard way, with an accountant or just sitting in your garage. Because there are realities that hit you as a man only when you have signed a marriage certificate, only when you've put in that ring. So today I'm going to be sharing you just four of the most critical that usually don't hit men until reality strengthens them, until reality knocks on the door. So if you're a man who is either married or who's been married, share your own ideas or your own lessons in the comment section, because that's why we are here for, to learn from each other. Now, the first reality is that you are financially and legally exposed the moment you sign that document. Because here's the part almost no man studies before his wedding day: marriage is first and foremost a binding legal contract with the state. The feelings are real, don't get me wrong, but the paperwork is real as well. Depending on where you live, income, property, and debt accumulated during the marriage can be shared regardless of whose name is on the document, regardless of whose name is or whoever acquired it. And again, that includes debt, student loan, credit cards. Obligations you never personally agreed to can become your problem. And if it ends, meaning if the marriage ends, that's another story. Because right now in the US, 4 in 10 first time marriages ends in divorce, which is lower than the 50% number you've been told your whole life. And if unfortunately it ends, because the average marriage that ends in divorce usually lasts for around 8 years. That's 8 years of shared property, 8 years of shared income, 8 years of shared everything that will have to be separated in court. And this is exactly why a prenup is not unromantic. This is why prenup is not a relationship killing move people think it is. It's you being a grown man who read the terms before you sign. Always make sure you know your state laws. Have money conversations before the final day, not when you've already signed your documents and you're a couple of months or years into the union. That's not paranoia, bro. That's due diligence into the biggest financial decision most men will ever make in their lives. Reality number two is that if it ends, The odds are never in your favor when it comes to your kids. This is the one that gets glossed over a lot, and is the one that should scare you the most if you are planning of being a father or having kids. Because in cases where one parent is awarded physical custody of the child, the mother usually gets that privilege 8 out of 10 times. Fathers get less than 2 out of 10. And that's not a reflection of who is a better parent. It's a pattern the system creates, case after case, state after state, regardless of who you were as a dad. And you don't get to find this out after the fact and expect different outcomes. If you become a father inside a marriage, you need to know before going in what the playing field looks like, before things fall apart. Document your involvement. Understand the state custody standards. Don't just assume good father is enough to guarantee equal time because the numbers say otherwise. Now, bro, before we continue, I just want to make a pitch. These are the kinds of conversation we have in the membership. And our members are the people who make this thing possible, who make it easier for me to be able to send out this message. So if you want to, consider joining the membership and being one of the people to ever say, I'm proud I contributed to this channel's growth. Thank you for joining. You can also check our merch below at our merch store and support the mission. Now, reality number 3 is that you can lose your autonomy without ever noticing it. And this one never shows up in a courtroom. It shows up slowly in hundreds of small decisions. Where you go to on Saturday, whether you can grab a beer with the boys without it turning into a whole other conversation, what you spend your own paycheck on. And none of this feels like a big deal in the moment. It feels like a compromise, like being a good partner. But compromise adds up. A lot of men wake up 5, 10 years later and realize they haven't made a full independent decision in years. The friendships faded because they got too hard to maintain. Your favorite hobby got shelved because it started to look selfish. And then the man who shows up in 10 years isn't more devoted because he erased himself. Instead, he's smaller, he's resentful, even without fully knowing why. You need to know these risks exist before you step into it. Because the version of you that has no life outside the relationship isn't the good husband you think you are becoming. He's a man who is simply disappearing one small decision at a time. Reality number 4, and this one hits a lot of men. Because you can be fully married and still feel completely empty and still feel completely lonely. And this one, no one warns you about, but it's the one that hurts the most because it doesn't look like a crisis from outside. 2 incomes, a nice house, kids doing well in school, and underneath it, a man who feels like he's on his own island next to a woman he chose in a house he built. It happens quietly. The conversations turn into logistics. Who is picking up who? Whose turn it is? What's due on Friday? Nobody's cheating. Nobody's yelling. You just stop actually talking. And comfort quietly replaces connection. And one day you notice you feel further from her than you've ever felt from a stranger. That's a real risk of marriage that has nothing to do with courtrooms, that has nothing to do with money, but can destroy a man in similar levels. You need to know going in that this can happen even in good marriages. So you catch it early instead of waking up 6 years later to realize you are alone. You are just there to pay the bills. Now, before I ask you a question, 2 things I want you to know. If you're serious about changing your body, about being the best version of yourself, about getting fit, about being a man again you once were, check out my fitness channel. There is about men's well-being, men's self-improvement, exercise, nutrition, testosterone, anything that makes a man manly. Check and subscribe because moving forward, it's going to be exclusive men and it's going to be very useful content. And if you're someone who is not planning on getting married or who is not planning on dating or contemplating, I'll help you make that decision. I have something for you. It's free. It's called the opt-out decision test. It's in the first comment below. It's not motivation. It's a mirror that will help you decide if you want to opt out or not. Again, it's free. Check it out. Now tell me in the comment section. For those who are already married or for those who were once married, what's the risks of marriage you didn't know or you didn't recognize until you were already in it? Drop your comments below. Someone can learn from it. And for those who are not yet married, are you planning to get married anytime soon? Let's know. Now, before you go, click on this video that appears next on your screen. The title is The Truth Every Man Learns About Women. Check it out. Enjoy it. Smash the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications because the next video on the Truth series is going to be the truth men learn too late about divorce. Share with your brother who needs to watch this and see you in the next one. Copy that.